You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Acolo personalul de serviciu care te înjurați-o, blestemați-o ăsta și ți-o fură mâncarea.
Unde?
La Dicta, la Sfântul Nicolae. Să nu fie toate numai pentru bani. Acum deja numai pentru bani. Că toți donațiile și astea, și donațiile privesc copiii, nu?
Da.
Privesc copiii. Donațiile se pune în
The purpose of this documentary is to raise a universal alarm on the extreme poverty levels in which families and over 41.5% of Romanian children live in. Some children go to bed without eating. Some eat every 2 days. 8 in 10 Romanian children in orphanages are not even orphans. The extreme poverty levels of their families forces the parents to abandon their children, either in an orphanage, a placement center, or with a family member, so they can go abroad and work. Even more alarming than the rising poverty levels in Romania are its ramifications: neglect, child abuse, child labor, rape, trafficking, school abandonment, children ending up in the system, in prison, or even worse, dead. Now imagine a world in which all children can grow up in a loving family with proper food, access to education, sexual education, access to proper mental health and physical health, access to integration programs. Imagine these children having the same chance in life as our children. Let's be family to these children, all of us, together. Let's be the answer to the end of poverty and social exclusion. Join our forces and help us build a better world in which families and children of Romania flourish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. We are so glad that you are here. So if you were watching that video, Hope for Kids and the Power of We Symposium is heading to Romania, and the time is here. They will be heading out to Romania tomorrow. So we want to make sure that we continue to support them in their efforts as they are in Romania, supporting the beautiful children and families that need assistance. If you were watching that video and paying attention to that video, you heard that over 41% of children are orphaned in that country. We want to make sure that we help, that we inspire, that we love and support the kids and the families there. A lot of the families have to go off to other places to work just to sustain in life. So please, find it in your hearts to donate whatever you can. $1 goes a very long way when we are supporting people that need assistance. So whatever you find in your heart to give, please give. And also, send your love and your prayers out to the beautiful people that are going out there. There are a number of people that are going from the United States to support the children there. Again, it's the Power of We Symposium along with Hope for Kids in collaboration with the State Department. So we want to continue to support them in this effort, and we send them safe travels and well wishes on tomorrow as well. So just wanted to mention that. You see the QR code there in the corner. You can just click that and you can donate, or you can go to the GoFundMe link that will be right here on the show page. All right. We love to support in the efforts when people are going out to spread and share love in their hearts, to help people to have the things that so many of us take for granted. All right. So I wanted to start off with that. Everybody click that QR code. So today, I was reading an article on CNN News on my phone. I love to get the news on my phone, but I was reading an article about spring cleaning. But this article in particular was talking about spring cleaning for your physical body. So, the spring is here. We had those April showers. For some of you in some parts of the United States, we had April showers. But what do you do to spring clean for your body? So we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but what do you even think about that? We think about cleaning out our closets. I remember, okay, I'm dating myself, right? Because this was when, closets were small in older homes. So I'm really dating myself because there wasn't a lot of closet space. So we used to store our winter clothes in the summertime in bins, and we had to put them in the basement because there wasn't enough closet space. So we would store those winter clothes, and then we would shift them. When the winter came, we would bring the winter clothes back out and store the spring clothes. I don't know if people do that anymore. I hope you don't. I think the closets have gotten bigger these days. However, we have to make that shift during the season. So what do you do for your body, if anything? Or are you living healthy all year? I hope that's your answer. But if not, what are you going to do for your body to help spring clean for your physical body? And I'm going to give you some tips later on in the show. All right. But we have an amazing guest here. And I actually met this amazing guest back in St. Louis, Missouri, back in February. Wow, it seems like so long ago. I feel like I've known him for a very long time already. His name is Andy Nam, and he is absolutely amazing, has his own show with his beautiful wife, which I had the pleasure of being a guest on. Is that now 2 weeks ago, Andy? It seems like it was just yesterday, but amazing show called Chronically Healthy Life. So you want to make sure that you tune into his show on Friday evenings, right? At, I think that's 7 p.m. Central Time, because he's Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to make sure that you tune into Chronically Healthy Life. And we're going to get into that conversation about living a chronically healthy life. And I love the play on words here. So I'm going to talk to Andy about that a little bit when it comes to using the word chronically. I love that. So we're going to get into that conversation, but I want to introduce you to my amazing friend, Andy. All righty. Give me 1 second here. And everybody, just bear with me. If you've been here watching the show, you know that there have been some crazy internet things happening here on my end. And if you didn't know, I actually moved locations, moved into a new home. And you would think, when you're moving into a new home, you've got better internet, right? Or with the way things are these days, the technology, you would think that you'd have better internet, but I do not. So I'm figuring that out. And my beautiful sister, Brandy, is letting me know what I need to do to get myself together when it comes to the internet. So we're going to figure this thing out. But until then, bear with me, everybody. So I hope that you can hear me well. But Andy Nam is a certified functional nutrition lifestyle coach, certified Jack Canfield success coach, biohacker, we're going to talk about that too, and longevity coach, personal trainer, best-selling international author, and speaker. His journey towards health and longevity started when he healed his deteriorating body caused by an automobile accident in his teens. And we're going to get into that conversation as well, which fractured his neck, bent his neck, and multiple injuries. Over the next 2 decades after that accident, he was taking higher and higher doses of prescription pain medication just to get out of bed and be functional. After multiple doctors and medical specialists, failed to heal his body and suffering over 2 decades and told him to accept his health. What? We don't do that, right, Andy? We had some great conversation in St. Louis, but told him to accept his health was only going to get worse as he got older. So he decided to take his health into his own hands and healed himself over the last 10 years. So we're going to talk about what he did to heal himself. He created Foco Academy with his wife, Mina Wong, and their mission is to inspire and help those suffering to not only regain their health, but to thrive as they get older, living a long and productive life. So they also recently created the TV show that I just mentioned earlier, Chronically Healthy Life, airing live every Friday at 7 p.m. Central, sharing strategies with guests to improve your longevity and health, independence, both with your health and your finances, family relationships, both immediate and extended friends, and of course, how to thrive in our ever-changing environment. I'm going to add that in there, right? Where we live and where we surround ourselves. So I want everybody out there to give my friend Andy Nam a round of applause as we talk to him about how to live chronically healthy, everybody.
Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Hey, I am great, Andy. How are you?
Oh, I'm so honored to be on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you are here. So listen, when we met, right, and we started talking, I really geeked out on our conversations because I was so happy to meet someone else who felt like I did about health and wellness. So I want to talk a little bit about, let's go to your story, first of all, and talk about your accident. And what was the moment or what happened that made you decide, you know what, I have to take things into my own hands?
I think the moment was really, So I married my high school sweetheart. My wife is my girlfriend, my high school sweetheart. So the moment is, when I turned 40 and I'm looking forward towards living together, we have a great relationship, and it was almost become a caregiver and an invalid. That's what I felt like. She's taking care of me all the time. She's cooking, she's doing all the chores and stuff like that. And it just started feeling like, well, I want to do more, but I can't. And it was just excuses that doctor specialists been telling me. This is just accept your situation. It's only going to get worse. We have done all we can with the medical field, and that's that. And, it just came to the point that, that's not something I'm going to accept, looking for 3 years, 5 years, and it was not hopeful. I did not see a happy life. I was just miserable all the time. Yeah. If you look at some of my pictures when I was in my 30s and 40s, I never smiled. I always had this permanent grimace as a look. And during that time, I thought I was looking cool. But I didn't realize I was just not happy because I was in pain all the time.
Yeah. Wow. And so young, right? Like you're so young to have to deal with that pain. Talk about some of the symptoms, side effects that you were feeling from the prescription medication.
Yeah. So, one of the things that doctors, either they told me and I wasn't paying attention, or, was in the description or whatever it is. They don't tell you when you take a lot of prescription painkillers, it really disrupts your bathroom patterns, right? So that became a major issue for me into my 30s and early 40s, where I had, gut issues. I had IBS. It's like whenever I eat something, it's either I won't be able to go for days, or I would have to go to the restroom immediately after. So it became very inconvenient to go out to eat. And, we're foodies. We love to eat. And, that basically made it so difficult for us to go to eat, because a lot of times it's like, well, as soon as we eat, I'll tell them we have to go home. I'm just not feeling well. Right. And, it was just horrible, not being able to eat what you want when you want, but not knowing when your next situation you're going to be going to the restroom, right?
Yeah. And talk about, because you are also a health coach as well, talk about the importance of that gut health, right? Like just and what that means for your overall wellness.
Yeah, it's funny because right through my journey, I thought I was studying the right things. Doctors were telling me to eat better, to exercise more. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, working out, and I was trying to eat clean, right? I was actually eating vitamins from, I'm not going to say which store, but it was a vitamin store. And the ones I was buying was advertised by Sylvester Stallone back in the day, Rocky. So I figured Rocky can take it. It must be the best vitamins. And yeah, that didn't help. But what people need to realize, and I didn't realize this till many years later as I started studying into health and nutrition, that your gut health is so important for everything. It controls your immune system. It controls how you think. It controls your brain fog. Like there's this connection between your gut and your brain. So if your gut's not working properly, everything is just messed up.
Yeah, absolutely. So then as you were noticing the things that were happening with your body, the digestive issues, even the emotional and mental side of that, right? What did you say, okay, I have to do X? What was that to make the changes?
During that time, I didn't know what to do, to be honest, right? Because I was doing everything that the doctors told me to do. I was doing their exercises, their stretches. I was watching the commercials on TV. I'm buying whatever they say is the right foods to eat. During the time we didn't really have social media, so I didn't go down to that rabbit hole. But there's just so much information out there. It's sort of hard to figure out what works and what didn't. And just during that time, I didn't realize that not one thing works for everybody, right? Like I thought it did, but it didn't. So yeah, it was definitely a journey. I'm Asian, I'm Chinese, so like I ate a lot of rice, right? That's just our culture. I used to eat rice 3 times a day. And, when I get into my health journey, I finally find out that rice is one of the foods I can't eat every day because it messes with my blood sugar and it made me even more tired. It raised me towards pre-diabetes. It was just the things that I thought that was eating healthy was just really messing with my health. And there's no one there to tell me I was doing all the wrong things.
So where did you go to figure out, okay, what is healthy, right?
Well, it's funny. Like I'll keep the story short, but like back in the day, when I was going Oldman in high school, we're both car fanatics. We love fast cars, right? And she had this Road and Track magazine. Like you, I'm going to date myself. This 1988 Road and Track. They had the Lotus Esprit on the cover, fastest car, best car. And during the time, she said, hey, I asked her, so, what would it take for you to marry me? And she just told me, if you buy me a Lotus, I would marry you. And, grade 12, you're a kid. No problem, I promised, right? I think back then that was already $80,000 car back in 1988. So in the back of my mind, it was always one of the promises that I promised Minna that I was going to get her a Lotus. And in 2005, when I was 35, I bought her a Lotus Elise. I don't know if you're familiar with the car. It's a small little car. It's like a small little Ferrari. And that was like my gift to her, fulfilling a promise. But, the changing point in my life was when I was 43 in, 2003. So that would be 2013, I guess. Yeah, 2013. I had to sell a Lotus because I couldn't even get in and out of the car anymore. Like my back pain was so bad, literally we'd park and I'll be crawling out of the car. And it was just so embarrassing for me that it was like, even though this was my gift to her, it's like we couldn't even enjoy the car anymore. We had the car for literally 8 years and there was like 7,000 miles on the car because we never drove it.
Wow.
Right. So, and just to make the long story short, the person I sold the car to introduced me to some vitamins, some supplementation. And when I started taking that supplementation from that kid, I call him a kid because he was only like 25 during the time. I started noticing difference in pain. And that's when I started looking, well, why was this supplement different from all the other vitamins I've been taking for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that really started my path to see there are differences. It's not all vitamins are the same. There are differences between quality of the vitamins that you buy and, the ones that you get at Costco or vitamin shops or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And what would you suggest for people who are looking for the right supplements to take? Like, what would you say to them in terms of, putting yourself on a regimen and then, what you're noticing in your body, I would say?
Yeah, I think it comes down to really trying to source out a good multivitamin, like I'm not going to go on air and talk about which brand it is. It's not tough for me to talk about pushing product, but there are so many brands out there. You need to do your due diligence, because the problem with most supplementation is, they may list the, like what's on there, like vitamin C, vitamin D, or whatever. But what people don't realize when it comes down to supplementation, they are guesses. So what they do is they average out in a package in bulk, and then some may have 500 milligrams of vitamin C, some may have 400, some may have 300, but it's averaged out, right? But more importantly is they never list the ingredients that is in there that is toxic. And I think that's where the problems are. I think there were studies back maybe 8 years ago where it was on the news saying that vitamins don't work, and some of them have arsenic, they have lead. And, people say, wow, these vitamin companies, they're putting lead, they're putting arsenic into vitamins. It's like, no. That's not what they're doing. Lead and arsenic is coming in because of contamination of what that vitamin C or vitamin D source is.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not literally putting poison into your vitamin, right? But the sources are in, the toxins are in the sources of those vitamins. And that's why it's so important to source out one that you trust. And normally, I recommend people ask around, see what works, but it's not going to be the main name brands that you can buy from the supermarket or from Costco.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I always tell people too, like, look at companies that do third-party testing, integrity third-party testing, right? Not so much, the FDA, and I'm not knocking the FDA, but not so much. Look at the third-party testing, because there's a lot more research that goes behind that third-party testing. So look at the integrity of the company from that perspective too.
I totally agree.
And you said something very key too when you talked about the source of where the vitamins are coming from, right? And I always talk about this as it relates to food, but it goes into a lot. It goes into supplements too, right?
Yes.
The lack of care that goes into, I'm going to say use livestock as an example, right?
Correct.
That goes into like our livestock and where we start to source things from our food to our supplements, that's where things are coming from, right? Because the integrity of what is grown now or what is cared for us to be able to consume it is different than it used to be in the past.
My God.
Yeah.
That is so true. It's like food from our generation, from our parents' generation, and from our grandparents' generation is vastly different. Like for our parents and grandparents' generation, there was no such thing as GMO, right? Genetically modified. Everything was technically organic. You don't have to label it organic. Everything was organic.
Yeah.
Right. So nowadays I think we're just eating a lot of chemicals that people don't know of that's getting into our bodies. And that's what's causing the problems. It's not necessarily the food is bad, it's the chemicals that's in the foods.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So I'm going to stop there for one moment. And when you talked about the genetically modified, I went to a place, and I'm not going to name the place, everybody, because I'm not here to bash any one place, but I went somewhere for amusement and pleasure on vacation and saw some things that I thought were really strange. But we're gonna get into that a little bit. I'll tell a little bit of that story when we come back. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere, everybody, because you want to hear more from Andy now. I'm just rocking out to your video there. But I love that I love that video and how you show some of the differences in health. And what we were just talking about was the food, right? And you were talking
Correct.
about, the whole foods, and in your video you see that there. But I wanted to just mention, I'm going to mention somewhere where I went, and I'll give you the name of it later, Andy. I won't say
Of
it.
course.
But I went to a place for amusement, pleasure, vacation, and we were going through this ride, and there were these genetically modified vegetables, and they were, as big as houses.
Oh,
And in my mind, and this was many years ago, right? I was young, I was still in my 20s, but or maybe not, I was in my 30s at that time. But in my mind, I'm like, something is very wrong here, And while people were just amazed and in awe at, what they were seeing and thinking this is just, some kind of ride that we're on, I was like, something is wrong here, But I was like, who do I tell? Who do I tell? So I love being able to have these conversations with you, because, when you recognize that there's something going on in the world that just doesn't look quite right, mega veggies, right?
exactly. I love
Quite
that.
right. And, like, okay, we're in trouble here. But so I just wanted to mention that, and I won't bash the place, but let's talk about the Chronically Healthy Life and why you and Mina. And I have to say that Mina's beautiful, by the way. She's so pretty. She looks so young. She looks so young. So I need some of Mina's secrets after the show is over. But why the Chronically Healthy Life?
Well, it's funny because, we thought we'd put a spin on it because we're thinking, well, we don't want to be just another health show, right? And when, we're thinking about what were our values in life, like, what driven us to where we are today. And of course, health is a part of it, right? But there's so much more, right? To enjoy life, there's your family, there's finances, and there's your environment that you're exposed to, like the people you're around, where you want to live, right? So we're thinking, well, when people hear chronically, people think that's a bad thing. But I'm thinking, well, what if it's a good thing? What if we make it's so bad that it's good, right? So that's the way we and we're called the foolish couple. And I don't know if you figure out why we're called that. But so we figured, well, we're just gonna be foolish about our show name too, and see where it went. And we sort of beta tested that with a couple of friends, and they thought it was a great joke. And I said, we're just gonna run with it. We're just gonna call it Chronically Healthy Life.
I love that. I love the play on words. And when you think about it, right, the connotation that words get, right,
Yes,
doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it really means, right? So
exactly.
I love that you guys did that, because it makes people think. And I feel like the name really tells people, like, if I can deal with chronic whatever's bad out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I do that on the other side? I had a coach talk about kind of the yin and the yang, right? Like where the opposites are really the same. So I love that you did that. Absolutely love that you did that. So talk about what people can expect when they watch your show this Friday.
Well, this Friday we're going to have another guest. We are going to be talking about how social media has made people feel less of themselves, right? Because we're always comparing with ourselves, and with everything that's happened in the last 3 years, there's a lot of depression. And we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Tammy Joy on there, and she's going to be talking about suicide prevention, because suicide was not a big thing for us growing up. It had to be something very, very serious for us to think about suicide. But nowadays you can say, well, I feel like I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough, because you're comparing yourself to some influencer that is just sharing something that's probably not even true.
Yeah.
Right, because we all have good days and bad days, and of course on social media you only see the good days.
Yeah.
Right, you never see the bad things that happen, right? And it makes people feel like they're just not good enough, right? Or maybe they haven't figured out what their goal in life is, or what they're good at in life is, and then they just give up, right? So that's what we really want to share on this week's coming episode this Friday, is one, to help people figure out what they're good at, so you don't have to feel like you're inferior to everyone else. But then also to honor those feelings that, yeah, there's going to be days when you are not feeling your best, days when you feel like the whole world's against you, and that's all right. You accept it, you accept your losses and you learn from it and you move on, right? And Tammy's going to share strategies a little bit further if you're going down that rabbit hole and you're getting all these negative thoughts, because that's not my specialty. My specialty, I'm hopefully to get you before you get down that rabbit hole.
Right.
That rabbit hole, that's what my show is about. We try to recommend specialists in different areas to help you live a chronically healthy life, because we're not specialists in everything, right? So we'll always have guests in different aspects that can specialize in helping others. Like when you were on the show, you're helping, you're specialized with career women, right? And I think that's important because everyone has a slightly different mindset. They have different time, and how they do things. And it's important for us, we want to link people to people that they can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And we're so aligned in that regard, which is why I call this the Whole Living Show, right?
Yeah.
Because it's everything affects your whole life, and it affects your health from different perspectives, mind, body, and spirit. And you need to take care of all of it in order to be whole and healthy. So I love that. I love what you're doing for this Friday. That's absolutely amazing. And I just want you to mention too, when it comes to social media and mental health, right? And why you guys decided to do this, just to reiterate a little bit, because, we're so impacted by what we see on social media now. And it can make or break a person at this point, which is sad to say, right? So I'm looking forward to watching this because I want to see what comes up from the expert too. But talk a little bit about, the impact that social media has had and why you guys decided to tackle this subject.
I think our generation, we never grew up with social media, right? Like when we wanted to talk with someone, we go out and talk with them. We go out to play with them, right? In the world today, everything's virtual, right? Like, it's funny because some of my friends were just making fun of me as well. You haven't reached your friend limit on Facebook. Come on, what's going on, right? I was thinking, why would I want was it 5,000 friends? Like it's some insane amount, right? And then I asked them, I said, well, what does a friend mean to you, right? And then she'll say, well, what are you talking about? I got like thousands of friends on Facebook. I said, well, that's great. And I said, well, a friend means to me is if I call them up and say, hey, Tracy, I'm going to be in your neighborhood this weekend. Can I crash for a night?
Yeah.
That is a friend, right? Like I'm not going to stay for a whole week, but can I crash for a night? I just want to hang for the night. That's what a friend is. But I bet you, out of those thousands of friends, there's probably only a handful that knows who you are, to be honest. Right? Because you need to know them before you accept them into the house, right? You don't be a serial axe murderer, right? And that's why for me is like when people friend me or when I friend someone, I want to make sure we have a common connection, something that we can share to help each other grow.
I love that. Thank you for saying that too. And I've been steady at probably about 1,300 friends, a little over 1,300, and I don't even know who all those people are, right? So I can't even imagine the 5,000. Not that I welcome great connections, right? That's how we became friends. But right in person, which is what I love, which people get away from now because of social media. And I think that social interaction that you have with people face to face, nothing can top that. Right. And I'm not knocking virtual because virtual is good, especially during these times. But at the same time, it does not beat the face-to-face human connection. So I'm glad that you're tackling this.
And, and in social media with the texting and everything, I always tell people, look, I like talking on the phone, right? Or, even virtual. Virtual's fine, right? At least I get to see you. Right. But if it's texting, you can write something in text and have no recourse after you text it. You hit send. And that's it. It's out there, right? You can't take it back. And I find that you can say stupid things on text you would never say in person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so that's why
Let
I think
alone the
there's so much.
smartphones that are not so smart. They change your words around sometimes.
Exactly. That's so true too, right? The spell check. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just
No, I was saying that's why, like, you know, I think it's getting harder and harder of social media for people to connect in for real, because everything is social, like, but it's not really in person. You don't get to feel body language. You don't get to see people's eyes,
yeah.
right? Because like what you say, reading may not be what they mean, right? So, you know, so I think that's why there's so much problems with depression, because all you see is all this good stuff, but like, you know, hardly ever anyone say, well, I lost my job today.
Mm-hmm.
Life sucks. They're not going to share that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they're going to say, hey, I just got a $5,000 bonus. Well, that's going to make me feel bad. I didn't make them a $5,000 bonus today, you know, whatever it may be, right?
And that's why we have shows like ours, right? Because it's time to change that. And people resonate, and people transform, right? When they can see the real in others, so that they can see that you had something happening in your life that just did not feel good and was not good, but you overcame, or you broke through, or you know what I mean? That's what people really want to see in order for them to really be able to transform. Otherwise, you know, we're all walking around thinking that life is supposed to be so good, and maybe ours is not.
Exactly.
Right. So I love that. So if you had to, you know, give people some tips and tricks on, you know, how to live healthy, right? Or I actually, let me change this. I want to say where to start, Andy, right? To living healthy. What would that be?
Well, you know, I like to tell people where to start is really listen to your body. You know, it's funny. It's like I tell people, your body has this early alert system. You know, you talk about Spider-Man, and he has his spider sense and stuff like that. Your body's sort of like that, right? If you eat something bad and you're feeling tired, you're feeling nauseous, you have to go to the bathroom. Well, guess what? Your body just told you that you can't eat that.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you worked out really hard and you are in pain for days, you know, don't listen to that personal trainer say, oh, that's normal. Well, I'm sorry, it's not normal. It's normal to be in pain for 1 or 2 days if you haven't worked those muscles. But if you're in pain for days, there's something else going on in your body, right? So anytime that, you know, it may be the smallest things. Maybe you couldn't sleep well that night, or you started sneezing, or your eyes get itchy. It's just like certain symptoms. That's what I always tell people to do, is like, if something is happening that doesn't normally happen, see what that is first, because that is your early alert system. Because I can tell you to change your diet, but like if I tell you change your diet and you eat something wrong and you don't know it and you continue eating because I told you to, well, you're still going to go down the wrong path, right? So I think it's really important to learn the little subtleties that your body tells you that something isn't quite right.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for that. Listen to your body. Like, had I not done that, I would not have caught breast cancer so early, right? If I had not listened to my body, because what I experienced wasn't normal, right? And I'm putting up my quotes here, but wasn't normal under, you know, what doctors say is what you would have, symptoms that you would have for breast cancer. So, you know, you really got to pay attention, because the small cues are really things, early warning signs, right?
Yes.
You mentioned so many of them that people take for granted. Like they think that they're normal. They're not. Like the nausea, the headaches, the itching, it's not normal for you to go through those things. Yeah. I can remember, I don't know if you know much about Ayurveda, and I don't either, but I want to study it. But I took one of their tests.
Correct.
In terms of knowing what my dosha is.
Yes.
And found out that it's something called vata. I used to eat spicy food all the time, especially in my early 20s into my 30s, all the time. Took this test, and I didn't know, like, the uncomfortable feelings that I was feeling after eating spicy foods just was not for me. Took this test and found out that my body runs hot, right?
Mhm.
For my blood type, and according to Ayurveda, I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to eat spicy food. And to this day, right, it does something to my gut,
Correct.
as you were talking about earlier, and I just can't do it. And it talked about like the foods that cool your body down and all that good stuff. And those are the things that I'm supposed to eat. Well, lo and behold, I didn't know that, and I ate a lot of spicy foods early on, and it just did not fare well with me. So, thank you for
That is so
sharing.
true. I love that story because like I keep telling people, like everyone's about individual. What works for one person may not work for another.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a journey. I'm sure it's the same for you if you're working with a client. It's like, well, here are my general principles, but
Yeah.
at some point we may need to pivot if this isn't working for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the biggest issue with so many people is they're following influencers, they're following YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and they're looking at this person. Wow, this guy's got 6-pack abs. This girl looks amazing,
Mhm.
and you need to eat this. Well, maybe that worked for that person. I don't know,
Mhm.
but it does not mean it's going to work for you, right?
Yeah.
So, what you're talking about is so true, right? It's like your body is running hot already. There's no point fueling the fire, right? You need something to cool it down, right?
Exactly. You got to cool it down. Exactly. So before we let you go, Andy, I just want to get your final last words. What do you want to leave people with? How can they find you? And what do you have available for them to help them live healthy?
Yeah. So, what I tell people to is, find your why you want to live a long time, right? Because when I tell people, hey, I plan to live to 150, people laugh at me. It's like, why do you want to be someone pushing you around in a wheelchair? You're going to be the last man on earth. And I said, well, first of all, I'm not going to be in a wheelchair, right? And second of all is like, why would I be sick? Like, I'm going to be 150 where I am right now.
Mhm.
So, a lot of people talk about midlife crisis when they're 20 or 30 or 40. Well, I'm 53 this year. I see that I'm not even midlife yet. I'm only 1/3. I still got a long way to go,
Mhm.
right? But, there are a lot of things that you have to sacrifice to live healthy,
Yeah.
right? But it depends on how strong your why is, right? Sometimes just saying, I want to look good in a bikini is not going to be good enough, right? But if you're saying, I'm living for my family, I want to see my children grow, I want to see my grandchildren, I want to have the energy to play with my grandchildren, that's a much stronger why to get better health, right? So, dive into your why as to why you want to live a better, because some people may don't want to be healthier. Maybe some people just hate life, but
Mhm.
there really shouldn't be a reason for that, right? We really should all thrive to live healthier and make a difference to people's lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you find when you start to change the habits, they become something that you get used to, and then you don't have the craving for. And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking
Mhm.
about anything that's unhealthy. You don't have the craving for those things anymore because your normal is new now, right? So
Exactly. I love
you
that.
don't have that craving for those things that don't serve you well. So I love that you said that. I appreciate that. I am so grateful that you came on to share. I want everybody out there to make sure that you tune in to the Chronically Healthy Life this Friday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you will hear Andy and his beautiful wife, and we'll be talking this Friday about social media. So make sure that you tune in right on E360 and on Facebook Live. So Andy, I appreciate you. I thank you for being here. Everybody don't go away because we're going to talk about those tips about spring cleaning for your physical body. We're going to get into those. And my beautiful friend here, Andy, gave you some great tips on how to live healthy. Pay attention to your body as he mentioned, and we'll be right back with those tips.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Andy. And I'm just smiling here.
Imagine a verdant paradise that stands as a convergence of worlds, a living temple of native wilderness, a place where the full potential of inherent human and earth magic can be seen, felt, and understood. A space that attracts the brightest and best of educators, on the leading edge, a place of permaculture designed for the benefit of future generations.
And we are back. So I wanted to give you some of those tips for you to do your spring cleaning, your physical spring cleaning. But part of that I'm going to mention because my amazing sister back there who produces this show, I think she's in my head sometimes. One of those things is being able to get away and do something fulfilling and fun. And since she showed that commercial, that beautiful place, Mandela Springs, is a place that helps bring you some peace and calm. It is right here in the mountains of North Carolina. So I just wanted to mention that since she put that up there, she must have been in my head, I tell you. Because one of the things is being able to do something fulfilling, something that you allow yourself to celebrate yourself. And that was my 6th point, but I wanted to mention it first since she put up the commercial. But the first thing that I want you to do when you are spring cleaning for your health and wellness is to start your day off with prayer, with meditation, or something that grounds you, that gives you peace, that brings you some type of stillness and calmness before you get your day started. So that is tip number 1. All right. Tip number 2, you want to make sure that you are cutting out or reducing your processed foods. Okay, so if it's in a package, I want you to make sure that you are reading the ingredients on that package and that you are noticing and knowing what those ingredients actually are before you put it in your body. That's going to allow you to help spring clean out your body. We were talking earlier with Andy Nam, and we talked a little bit about that gut health. Well, when you're doing your spring cleaning, you want to make sure that you're not pulling in all that processed food so that you can allow your body to digest and properly just process your food. The third one I want to give you is drinking water. Now, I know you guys have probably heard this so many times before, but it's so essential. And normally we tell people to drink at least half their body weight in fluid ounces a day, right? However, I was listening to one of my mentors who said drink 4 ounces per hour. So keep the water, and this is actually sparkling water. It doesn't have anything else in it but a little fruit, but it's all natural. But drink your water 4 ounces per hour. Keep it close to you. I always have a bottle of water on my desk or with me in my bag as I am traveling about during my day. So keep your water close to you. The next thing you want to do is I want you to take some moments in your day to just breathe. Take some time to breathe. Pay attention to your breathing. Make sure that you're breathing in deeply and releasing the way that you need to release. And there are different breathing methods out there. One of my favorites is the 4-7-8, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, and you release it for 8. But you want to make sure that you're doing that. I know when I was on Andy Nam's show, they also shared a breathing technique that's 4-4-4, which may be a little bit easier, especially when you first start out, because it's in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. All right. But make sure that you are doing some deep breathing that's going to allow you to still bring that stillness and calmness. It helps to reduce your stress. Breathing also allows your body to process as well. It helps you to digest as well. So, and digestion is so key and important. So you want to make sure that you're breathing very deeply. All right. And then the last point that I wanted to make is to move your body daily. So it doesn't have to be rigorous exercise. You don't have to go lift a whole lot of weight. You just want to make sure that you're moving so that you're keeping your blood circulating. You're assisting your body during the day. You're getting some movement. You're aiding again in that digestion as you are moving. Get out, take a walk, stand up, run up and down your stairs. If you have stairs in your house, run up and down your stairs a few times. It doesn't have to be that you have to be at a gym or you have to run miles and miles in order for you to live healthy, get that spring cleaning in for your body, and get some movement. Do some things around your house that are going to allow you to get some movement, keep your blood pumping and circulating throughout your body, keep your heart healthy as well. And the last one that I mentioned in the beginning is I want you to celebrate yourself and do something fulfilling. I have now on my calendar 12:45 p.m. every day where I do something fulfilling. And whatever that looks like for you, put it on your calendar, plan it out for yourself, celebrate or do something that just fills you with joy. For me, sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's a quick meditation, sometimes it's a quick read. It just depends on what it is. Sometimes I dance, sometimes I do something that's going to make me laugh, but something that is going to give you that breakup during the day that gives you some fulfillment throughout your day. And again, it's going to help you to reduce stress, right? It's just going to aid you. So I want you to make sure that you are doing the things that are going to fill you up, that's going to allow you to live healthy. So I'm going to run those down again really quickly. So the first one is to start off with something that grounds you. Start your day with prayer, meditation, something that gives you peace. That's number one. Number two is cut out those processed foods, please. I am begging you. That's something that me and my son do now. We read the ingredients on absolutely everything. You guys probably heard me talk about this before, but cut out those processed foods. Number three is make sure that you are getting in the water, sufficient amounts of water. And again, I said 4 ounces per hour. It may sound like a lot, but just keep the water close, right? Number 4 is breathe deeply. Number 5 is move your body. You want to make sure that you're moving your body. And number 6 is celebrate and do something fulfilling for yourself. So this has been your spring cleaning tips, your spring cleaning healthy tips for you today. I appreciate everybody out there for joining the show. We will be back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want to give a special thanks to my friend Andy Nam for coming on and sharing all of those wonderful tips and telling us a little bit about his story and why he decided to live healthy. And I'm with Andy. I was saying that I was going to live to 100. Andy has now put me to the test and said 150. Well, listen, I always modeled myself. I said, I absolutely love Betty White. Betty White passed away right before her 100th birthday. She was 99 years old, but she was still living, moving, I was going to say breathing, but of course she was breathing, but still living and moving and doing exactly what she wanted to do in life. She was still working up until the day she died. So I always talk about that, but now I'm going to go with my friend Andy and I'm going to live to 150 because I am 52. Like he said, he's 53. So I'm right there with you, Andy. I'm 52 years old. And I can tell you right now, because when I changed my lifestyle and change the things that I do and the habits that I do every day, I don't have any pain, everybody. I don't have knee pain. I don't have back pain. I don't have the inflammation. I'm not on any medication. And that was all from changing my life. You heard Andy give his story about changing his life after having to take medication. So once you do that, the longevity will be there. And listen, nobody knows exactly when they're leaving here. But if you do your part, right? Your part to live healthy, you will live a healthy life that's going to allow you to live a vibrant life at the same time. So we're going to say that we're living to 150. I'm challenging my friend here, and we're going to do this 150 years old. And I do have longevity in my family. My great-grandmother passed away at 98 years old. My grandmother right now is 92. So I'm looking to surpass them. And my grandmother still lives by herself, still quite mobile and doing a lot on her own. So listen, she can do it. I can do it too. And I'm going to do that. 150 years old, everybody. So I appreciate you for joining us this week. We will see you back next week. We love you. Thank you and take care.